burned a little extra.
You taste the burn?
I do. That's good.
Which state has bigger belt buckles?
Texas, for sure. Everything's bigger in Texas.
By the way, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers you.
A big thank you to our sponsors for making this show possible.
Welcome back to the Fred Minnick Show, brought to you by Baxis. Hey, if you're like me, you're probably tired of looking for bottles that you want, but you can't find them, and when you do, they're far too expensive. I've got a place just for you. It's called Baxis. At Baxis, there's transparent pricing where you can see real-time sales history of a bottle that you want. So you can see the low price and the high price of recent sales of it. It's a marketplace for spirits, a collector-to-collector haven where we are buying, selling, trading, and storing our favorite bottles. Go to Baxis.co, use Fred25 at checkout for $25 off your first purchase. And joining the Fred Minnick Show, incredibly talented musician, Danielle Bradbery. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you.
Are you a whiskey drinker?
I've become one
okay.
as I do this music journey.
Is that like required?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like when you're out, especially starting the industry as young as I did, I obviously started before 21. So I watched my band. Your band like becomes your family. And I had, it's like a bunch of brothers out on the road. And so I just watched them drink for a while and then turned 21 and they introduced me to everything. And then one of my band members collects bourbon and goes to all that stuff. So I got introduced to it. I'm not
so jealous. I'm so jealous.
And it became a thing. Like before the show, I would have whiskey or bourbon on ice right on my drum riser. So
it's just so great to have you on, and
yeah, thank you.
So how do you normally taste?
Oh gosh, you're way better at this than I will ever be. But I'm a sipper. I'm not a huge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. And
yeah.
I'm not like all my friends, my boyfriend, everybody. I look at their drink and they're already done. I'm like, how do y'all do that? Even just with anything. But usually this is more my speed.
Can I take you through my
do.
tasting process?
Yeah.
What we are drinking here is a standard product called Michter's. This is like what I consider to be like an everyday sipper, something you would have just like on a regular basis. And so you kind of begin by looking at the color. It'll be that one right there.
Okay.
Kind of begin by looking at the color, swirl it, bring it to your nose. And we smell, I'm going to smell with your mouth slightly open. So you go back and forth. And by opening your mouth, you're relaxing your olfactory, allowing, other, more than just the alcohol to kind of like dictate like your nose, because if you like the alcohol can just kind of be like can singe your nose hairs. So just open your mouth a little bit, go back and forth, and then you should be picking up different things on your one nostril than the other. And you'll notice that. I get sweet on the right nostril sometimes and then spicy on the left.
Okay.
But so we're just kind of like looking to put it in a category. Is it sweet? Is it earthy? Is it spicy? Is it fragrance like some kind of like floral or perfume? Or is it like earthy, like ground?
Okay.
So kind of do that, and then you want to put a little bit on your tongue. And just focus on what part of the tongue you feel it most prominently. I developed a palate for tasting wine and spirits, and the one thing that I learned is like tasting alcohol, sipping. Not this drinking stuff that your band members are doing.
I know.
You right?
Yeah.
It is a very different process than drinking.
Yeah.
And you just focus on your tongue, what part you feel it, and then you taste it again and see if you pick up any flavors.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
Try it again.
Okay.
So focus on the part. What part of the tongue did you feel this one?
For me, it was the tip, but maybe I didn't do it big enough.
No, that's right. I want a thimble size amount, not a whole lot. Do a whole lot, and then it's the drinking part.
Right.
Right. There we go.
That's good.
What do you pick up?
More spicy.
A little spicy.
Yeah.
You feel that? You feel the spice on the tip?
Yeah.
Okay. I get sweetness on the tip. So
Okay.
we're all different.
Okay.
Just like we're all like musically different and athletically different.
Yeah.
We all taste very differently. We all pick up things differently on our tongue.
That is so interesting.
So you're saying now you like go and you taste before a show. What are you tasting? Like what are you taking a shot of before a show?
Oh gosh, see, when you're out on the road and we only have so much of a budget, or or just whatever the show or whoever like the runner is, or we're like, okay, we like bourbon or we like whatever. We've gotten the cheap stuff. I like Maker's Mark, like
That's
stuff.
solid bourbon though.
I know. And so that was for a long time, where that one was the one that they always had in the green room. Quick, gets the edge off, gets something that for us to sip on. But I don't know, my band member, his name is Daniel, he's the one that goes to every store and loves to collect, and he would show me all kinds of stuff and have me taste some stuff, and if I couldn't tell you the names and everything, but
Did you tell Daniel we're coming on the show?
I didn't, but I'm definitely gonna let him know, and he's probably gonna he's gonna be
You're
jealous.
gonna have some gifts after this too. He's gonna
yeah.
make him super jealous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing crazy. I would put it on ice, just to. I love cold drinks and stuff, but yeah, that's what I would have on my drum riser, and by the end of the show, I was definitely feeling warmed up.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Do you find that whiskey helps your voice?
Sometimes, yeah. I have from any other alcohol. This one definitely helps warm it up. I do the hot toddy, or I do,
Okay.
whiskey and tea with honey. That has been something I've done before a show. But yeah, it's definitely the one I prefer to do, like if I'm gonna drink during a show.
So the first one we had, this was distilled and aged in Kentucky.
Okay.
The next one we have is made in the state of Washington, at a place called Woodinville. This is also they're very similar in price. This one's a little harder to get. Doesn't have as good a distribution, but I find that this is a good one to have with friends. By the way, cheers.
Cheers.
You.
See, I'm like, what's the difference?
You trying to figure out your nose?
Yep.
Are you noticing it yet? You find anything? Because your nose doesn't work the same. It's like it goes in cycles.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right, here we go. What do you think of this one?
I think it's a little more, not tart, but it's a little more on the sharper side than the first one.
So it feels hotter?
A little bit, yeah.
Feels a little interesting. They're the same exact proof.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong
That
with
is
that.
so interesting, though.
It feels a little bit more. Actually, let me go back. Hold on. So, okay, I see it.
Okay.
You're teaching me something here because you're tasting. I come at this from like an analytical side of like breaking it down to the nth degree. And you're a fan of whiskey, but you're not like breaking it down like me. You're enjoying it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm a curmudgeon. I don't enjoy anything. And I find that's a very educational thing for me, because they feel very different in a different way on my tongue.
I have way more of a fresh palate, I guess. I don't know.
I like it.
It's interesting to know the difference. This is very interesting to me. Yeah.
I find songwriting, fascinating, because you have to go so deep in the personal side. But I've also wondered, like, is there ever a moment where we share too much?
Yeah. I call writing sessions not. I mean, it's not a therapy session, but it can get there. It's crazy because I've gotten in rooms with people I've never even met before. I've heard of them. It's something where management or pub, they're like, okay, do you want to write with these people? Sure, let's give it a try. Or I go a week or two writing with my main people. And it's funny, the two, because sometimes I'll share a lot, and I'm like, gosh, I leave the right feeling heavy, but then I'm like, okay, the song that we got I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't open up like that. And then with the people that I've never met before, it's interesting to get there because they're asking these questions about life and about a relationship or, oh, what happened there, and they'll dig and they'll be writing stuff down, and it's like, it's a very vulnerable space, and if you don't even know the people, they're writing your business down, and you really have to open up and truly trust these people, especially in the industry. You're like, okay, we're in this room, hopefully it never leaves this room, even though we're writing about it. But sometimes you get in conversations where you're talking about some stuff and you're like, okay, maybe I overshared a little bit. So it's interesting, yeah.
Do you feel safe in that spot to share like that?
Sometimes I'll have a moment in some rights where I'm like, like maybe this isn't the right place to go there, or I kind of keep it at a certain limit. But for the people that I write with all the time, they know me now and they know kind of my story. Those are definitely a safe place for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I just think I'm a writer. I write books.
Okay.
I'm writing one now where I'm having to be very vulnerable, and I'm like coming to a couple spots where I'm like, I don't know if I'm comfortable sharing this, and yet I know people would love to read it.
I've been there.
So what is that moment of it's too far, it's too much to share? What's that moment?
For me personally, I've preached about being the type of artist to my fans and to everybody, especially on social media and in interviews and anything I do. I really try to preach that I am a very honest, vulnerable, real artist, and that's the person I want to come off as. And because it's hard for me to be fake, and I'm very thankful for that. It's very hard for me to talk about things that are not genuine. But there's definitely, I think there's a limit, and I think a limit that I've had to be like, okay, there's a certain amount of information that I am gonna keep for myself, because if not, then what's gonna be left for me? And there's a lot that the world still doesn't know about some situations, and like my last album I just put out was about going through toxic relationships and life events, and I'm 28 years old, so it's very fragile years, these past couple of years, and I've opened up as much as I possibly can, but I'm like, okay, these things, it would just be it would be oversharing. But
what you have done has helped people too, I would say that.
Yeah, and I've seen that, I've heard stories, and I'm like, okay, like I'm sharing just the right amount. And I think there gets a point where if in the areas that I have felt kind of alone in, I know if I share those, people are just I'm like, I know other people feel that way too. And so that's kind of where it's like my little, I don't know, like it's been a juggling thing. Like I've definitely been in spots where I'm like,
and when we share, we always get haters.
Exactly. You're never ever gonna please everybody. I've learned that, yeah.
This third pour is from a blending house in Kentucky called Barrell with 2 L's. You know, they wanted to be cute and spelled Barrel with 2 L's. And blending was a real dirty word in American whiskey because of blenders always kind of undercut the market like after Prohibition. And, American distillers are typically straight distillers, meaning they don't do anything to it. It's just aged for a certain amount of time. They put a lot of barrels together and boom, it's yours. But blenders often add coloring and stuff like that. There's this kind of like new age of blenders. One of the companies that it's led by is Barrell. And so this is our next one. This is batch 36 of theirs. So they've done 36 batches in their existence.
Okay.
And this is 36. I will tell you, this is higher proof.
Okay.
So giddy up.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely feel it in my nose.
Yeah, that's why we open our mouth a little bit,
Yeah.
Because
if you don't, it does shock you a little bit.
Yeah.
That one burned a little extra.
Do you taste the burn?
I do. but it's like smoother on my tongue
Okay.
than some of these other ones.
So you
which
get
is
a
crazy.
little bit of burn at first, and then it's like
It's
nice
sweet
and easy.
to me.
I dig it. I dig it. So you started so young, and you're still super young. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you're 28. Mm-hmm. Super young. You talk about, like, you know, you are in one of those critical spots in your life, and believe me, you know, the 20s are often a blur for most people,
Right.
for a lot of reasons. The 30s, you feel like you're never good enough. You're always trying to, like, get there. And by the time you get in your 40s, you got some gray hair, and you're like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm all right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I got this world, you know?
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, you started so young.
Yeah, I did.
And 16 is, you know, looking back, do you ever think that maybe I should have given it a couple more years, or I was too young, or was it just right?
I've had moments where I'm like, man, I missed a lot of fragile years. And, you know, I was just your ordinary girl in Cypress, Texas, and I was going to big Texas public school, where football was like Friday Night Lights, and I was not the popular kid. I sucked in school. I sucked at it so bad. And I had crooked teeth, and it was just this whole thing. But, you know, singing was always my getaway, my therapy. And because school was just not for me, I would come home and sing for hours, like even before I touched my homework, like do your thing. But that's
Did you
just
use a
how.
brush? Was there a brush involved?
My dad bought me this karaoke machine, and I didn't use it to like sing to the words. I would play my favorite song, like I love singing to Carrie Underwood and all of those amazing women, but I would sing along with them. And that's kind of how I guess you would say, taught myself. And then I would just use the karaoke machine for the microphone, just for the ambiance. But that's what I would do almost every single day until like almost dinner time. I didn't do anything else with it. I was naturally a super shy girl. I was outgoing when I was younger, but school kind of made me get into a little shell. And you know, that was my getaway. That's where I felt the most powerful. As time went on, my mom, I've heard her say it so many times, but she was like, I heard you sing all the time, and I felt bad as your mom, like, for not doing anything about it. But I was never the type to be like, let me go on stage and sing. I just was super, if anybody asked me to sing, I was like, no, that's okay. I don't know why. And one day my mom was like, I'm signing you up for The Voice, and we're gonna go audition in Dallas. And we did. It was a cattle call. There's 6,000 people there. There's 3 auditions before the actual blind audition on TV. And so I remember just continuing, going on, and I went to LA, and we lived there for a few months. My mom had my brothers at home. They were babies, and she quit work for a little bit, which was brave for a mom to do. And she was with me through that whole process. And I was so naive to the process. Blake Shelton was my coach, and he was very, you know, he knew I was so young, and he took care of that, which I really appreciate. Towards the end of the season, before the finale, he had my mom, my dad, my stepmom and stepdad, I mean 4 parents at his house in LA, and me. And he was like, I just want to sit you down because you're such a baby, and if you win, which I think they knew, but he's like, if you win, is this something you want to do? So he legit asked me, and had all my parents there, and he was like, is this what you want to do? Or do you think you're ready? And I was just so, I don't know, like, I was like, yeah, I think so. And he was like, okay, and I want the parents to know I'm here, and it's a crazy industry, it's a crazy journey, and so I want you to be mentally ready. And so continuing on, ended up winning the whole thing, and it was just, 100 miles an hour after that. But then there's a time for a few years where I didn't do anything. And I was frustrated that I wasn't doing anything, but then my mom was like, if you didn't have that time, I think if you just went straight to 100 miles an hour and kept going, I don't think you would have handled it well. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So I think I had that moment where I was like, I think I needed that for sure. But there's a lot that I think back and I'm like, dang, I miss prom. Like there's a lot of stuff, and I had to grow up really fast. So it's been a crazy journey, and I will never forget it. I'll never get tired of talking about it.
How have you processed fame?
It's been a roller coaster. And I will say that confidently. It hasn't been, you know, sunshine and rainbows 24/7.
Yeah.
It's definitely an industry where there's a lot of tests. There's a lot of tests, and if you're not careful, mentally it can get really hard. You know, you're in front of so many people, and especially social media, and then when you go out on stage and, you know, people are watching you all the time, and that can get hard. You get haters, and you get people, the naysayers, and I mean, behind closed doors, that in the business side of things, that can get, you know, sticky. And I've learned so much. And I feel like I still have so much to learn.
I feel like I'm learning from you right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a process, and I'd be lying if I said there's been times where I did not handle it well. And I think, you know, you go through it a little bit.
So one of the ways I have found to kind of like process things is see how people before me, you know, or someone, you know, in the past did it. And I bring that bottle out because this is an old bottle that we're going to sip on next. And I was curious, do you have like a vintage or favorite old school female artist that you look up to?
I do. I feel like it's all over the map because I love all different types of music. But, you know, when I think back to like iconic country music artists, I mean, Dolly Parton has handled it like a champ.
She's something.
She is something, and
Yeah.
I've never met her, and hopefully that day comes. And Reba too. I've gotten to meet her, and just I've watched documentaries, I've watched interviews, and I mean they're strong women, and I look up to that. I respect that a lot.
What about like in some other genres, like Whitney Houston or someone who's no longer with us?
Yeah. I mean, vocally, I love that. I love big songs. I like challenging myself, and so all those singers like Whitney who have had literally the biggest voice in the world. I mean, for sure, I'd look up to that.
This is a 1991 Martin Mills that I bought on Baxis. Baxis, they're partners of the show, and they've been incredible
awesome.
with me. And I can't find these bottles anywhere.
Yeah.
And so back in the old days in the whiskey world, we would go on like Facebook, and if you were really risky, you want to take your chances, you'd go on Craigslist. But, you know, in some weird place with a sack of cash. It didn't always turn out well. But a lot of ways, buying old whiskey in the old days was like buying drugs. And like now, like Baxis exists, and it's a place where you can like, it's legal, and it's this awesome place where we can find like old whiskeys like this. Look at this back here. This is an old import.
Oh wow.
So this bottle was created for domestic or foreign markets.
Yeah.
It's an old Heaven Hill, and this is from a distillery that actually burned down. And so this whiskey is extinct.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is one of a kind.
This is one of a kind.
Yeah, my guitar player would be having a heyday right now.
You gotta send him photos of everything after this.
I will.
But the gift bag you have on the way out,
Okay.
maybe you can share with them.
Okay.
So this was distilled by a guy who was a mentor of mine. His name was Parker Beam. He died of ALS almost a decade ago now, and just was one of the most wonderful people that I'd ever worked with. But incredible distiller.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
This is very tasty. Is this your favorite so far?
It's gonna be funny because it's the higher proof, but I like this one.
You like the one that's in the middle?
I do. They're all really good, but that one, I like.
The
most,
higher
I think.
proof in the middle, so Barrell 35
Which
is your favorite
funny.
so far.
Yeah.
All right. We've been kind of like talking about it a little bit, but one of
Yeah.
the things that I love about you is that you're so open about mental health. I am too.
Yeah.
I talk about my PTSD experience from Iraq all the time, and I think it's very important to be outward with
Yeah.
that stuff. Where do you stand with that? Has it become kind of like a calling for you to be very focused on mental health and talk about it?
Yeah, and for me to go on as the artist that I, want to be, it would be weird for me not to talk about it because it has, impacted my life a lot in a lot of areas, and I sing about it, and it's part of me. And so it would be unfair to my listeners, to everybody that, tried to follow me or does follow me as an artist, not to know any of that. And I feel like so many people, especially in today's world, mental health is so just all over the place. And as soon as I did open up about that, I mean, the amount of people that I got in meet and greets or just at my shows or, online, they're like, this has helped me, this has made me feel not so alone, which I'm all about. I've been there. I'm like, feeling alone in something, whether it be anxiety, depression, or just anything, it's such a suffocating feeling to know, like, am I the only one that's feeling this, going through this? And it's like, no, not at all. There's so many people that are dealing with the same thing. You can have conversations about it, walk through things with people, talk about it. And so I've been, slowly opening up about just what I've dealt with in the past and what I dealt with now. And I think it's super important to shine a light on.
The truth is that we all strive to be happy.
Right.
And we have so much thrown at us today. Mm-hmm. How do you become happy?
Right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ways to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the mental, seeing somebody is not a bad thing.
No, not at all. And I've always been so open to that, and even talks with family and friends and significant others, like I highly recommend it for sure.
Well, this is completely outside of our entire conversation so far. But have you ever played in Japan?
I have.
Our next drink is from Japan.
Amazing.
What we're tasting here is a Hakushu 18-year-old Japanese single malt whiskey, and it is something else.
Oh, see, I smell a difference in this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So peat means they use basically ancient, 1,000-year-old decayed vegetation to smoke their malt.
Wow.
What's it smell like to you?
It smells kind of like a wood, like a smoky.
Okay. So you're getting smoke?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's like a bonfire in my mouth. That's good, though.
A bonfire in your mouth. Is this a Texas bonfire or a Tennessee bonfire?
I would say Tennessee.
It's a Tennessee bonfire.
Tennessee bonfire. But
All
a
right.
very earthy taste to it.
How different are Tennessee and Texas?
I might be biased, but obviously from Texas, and I love Texas. I love going home. That's where all my family is. And something about Texas, it's way more flat. Way more flat. And
The roads are less curvy.
less curvy.
Yeah.
And you drive for hours and you're still in Texas. But yeah, I love Texas, but Tennessee is beautiful. It really is. There's definitely unique things about each of them. I can't say anything bad.
Which state has bigger belt buckles, Tennessee or Texas?
Texas, for sure. Everything's bigger in Texas. Yeah.
All right, so we got smoky and earthy on this.
Yes.
Any other notes?
That's kind of all. I immediately felt like it was just smoked.
So I wanted to bring you a whiskey that was kind of like about the time of your career, and 18 years is it?
Yeah.
You know, and so like I am curious of like what the next 10 years are like for you.
I've been thinking about that too. You know, I feel like this time that I'm in now, it has really made me been thinking about just everything that's coming up. I have a problem with thinking way too far ahead of myself, and and it's a good thing and a bad thing because it stresses you out. But I feel like these years that I'm in right now is, you know, I'm really trying to figure out my true. I know my purpose, but I'm like, what is Danielle Bradbery trying to say? Who is she as an artist? And you know, I feel like I've been trying to figure that out, but I feel like right now is that true season for me. And you know, I've opened up through my music about mental health. I've, you know, spiritually about God, you know, just about a lot of things that I hadn't before. And I'm very curious to know where it takes me in the next 10 years. And I hope I can help a lot of people with, you know, with anything. I want to be a voice for people and a good example.
Does music help your mental health, or is it something that adds to why you need mental health?
Yes and no. There are times where it helps me, and you know, in a writing session or writing a song or in the studio, and you know, meeting fans and hearing stories. Like there's moments weaved in and out where I'm like, okay, this is why I'm doing this, and it helps me and reassures me. But other times I'm like, I could use a smoke break. Kind of a little bit of both. Yeah.
What's your pack of choice?
Oh gosh, I don't smoke, but
Okay. All right.
yeah. But sometimes I'm like, maybe I
you should
start.
smoke.
Yeah.
I seriously will be somewhere and I'll smell someone smoking. I don't smoke either, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I get it. I
Yeah.
can understand why someone smokes.
I know. I can too.
I don't smoke anything. But I do have something for you that I'm going to warn you. Speaking of smoking, this is smoking hot.
Okay.
I want to see what you think of it.
Okay, it's like a spicy.
I'll let you find out.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Can you handle it?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You have to sing tonight, do you?
No.
Okay. All right.
I like I like hot stuff.
All right, here we
But
go.
is it like really hot? It smells sweet though. I'm scared now. Oh my God. Wait, that's interesting. It like numbed my tongue for a second. That's good.
It numbed your tongue and is good?
Yeah, it was like super warm.
Okay.
Super warm.
So this is 28 years old. It's a Canadian whiskey.
Okay.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
162 proof.
Oh my God. That is insane. That's why. That is the most interesting thing I've ever tasted.
So this is the obtainium, and we call it hazmat.
Okay.
So we call it hazmat because you can't actually check it on a plane
Yeah.
because it could explode
For sure.
in the plane.
Yeah.
So you have to like ship it by ground if you get it
That
shipped.
is crazy. And people
And-
just like drink that.
Yeah, so not only do they drink this is one of the most sought after bottles that like people go for because they like the high proof.
There's a lot of flavor in that as well.
Yeah.
So
That is crazy.
you dug it.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite out of everything here?
The first one or the third one?
Okay, so either Michter's or the Barrel. Mm-hmm. You got to choose now. Kind of like you're in a songwriting session. We're
I
between
know.
two songs to be the flagship of your record.
I know. Ooh, see, by just the smell, I think.
I'm just a consultant in this. So if you need my help, let me know.
Yeah, I like this one the most.
All right, Barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Barrel 36
Barrel 36.
is Danielle Bradbery's favorite. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. And I appreciate what you're doing out there for folks who need a
Yeah.
little pep talk in their life.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, I hope so.
It's hard to explain that, but
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
What you're doing is a good thing. I'll
Thank
toast
you.
you with your favorite of the
All right.
show. Anything
Cheers.
new coming out that we can go put our ear pods on or
I mean,
our Boise headphones about?
just released an album, and then the rest of the album not long ago. So the full Danielle album is out anywhere you find music. That's my newest project, and then hopefully we can get a tour or something going, and we'll see everyone out on the road. Yeah.
I got some events I'm throwing.
Yeah.
I might recruit you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.